Yeah, it's me again. So, I want to address something here because I feel as if a lot of women do this and it's very problematic. Um, it's very problematic. So, there's some context here. It's basically to do with how women see this problem that we have in society, which is the fact that women are super immoral, they're self serving. They do not care about anybody but themselves. They're always on Instagram, all these social media outlets that are all about the self, all about worshiping the self. And I want to address something. So I posted a video, and it's about when women find MGTOW. That's the title of the video on YouTube. So I posted that on Facebook, and I had a couple replies. One woman, one of my family members who's married in, said, these women are dumb. I said, that's literally the majority of women in our generation. We have a huge problem because we have a giant problem. And so I get my older. This is what I don't get. This is an older woman in my family, 60, 65, who told me, if that's a problem, get an older woman. And I said that's not a solution. Like that's not. All right, so I put it in context. So I said, that's really isn't a solution. That's a very big problem. If men today can't find an adequate woman of equal age and mentality, that means that we have a vastly overwhelming majority of men today that will have to take the used up women of yesterday who weren't used for a reason, because those women were probably self-serving. We have the same problem. Like it's not just with young women, and most of the women that are single yesterday are single because they abhorred what women or what men want. They abhorred it. It's ridiculous. And I also want to address the fact that men have to Owen Benjamin's like what women want, and he often calls it the soap opera dream, which I find is hilarious. But let me get back to this. I said of yesterday who weren't used for a reason. What happened? What happens if we did make this a solution? What about the next generation of men? Are those men going to have to date 60-year-old women because the generation before them is being all used up by our generation, and the generation before them aren't used at all because the smart men will find other women of the older generation, which they're not really that smart for taking those women. I said, are those men going to have to date 60-year-old women? Before them they're already unfavorable because those women before are just old, and they can't procreate. So that's not a solution. I said this isn't a solution. That is passing the buck to someone else, kind of like the housing market that now millennials have to solve because the generation before ours decided it was a good idea to take on loads of debt that we couldn't afford. She replied saying, and this is sophistry, guys. This is a clear example of what women do, and it's also called buttering the bread in legal terms. This is what she did. She commented, well, one of the reasons young women are as they are in your generation is how they are being treated by others, be it men or women. Unless you find a Mennonite or Amish woman, you can't change the past, but you can always do something about the future. That's called buttering the bread, guys. That leaving with an open-ended statement like that is called butter. And then she said, "Good luck." Like that's called sophistry. What she did was first she stated a statement that can't be proven or disproven. So I said, "This is sophistry. What you're saying, that is a statement that can't be proven or disproven. That's called rhetoric, and it's often a tactic of propaganda." That honestly may be the case for some young women, but in most cases it is because of their parents. I would know because I experienced this firsthand. I see it every day, and I've been in relationships. They do not have morals. Their parents did not limit their time in social media, and they grew up to be self-serving and unwittingly, quite literally, retarded. I mean this as a medical term, like it should be used. There's nothing I can do about it. about the future of women because I am not a woman. I do not bear children, and it usually isn't socially acceptable for me to hang out with loads of women unless I am either one, a womanizer, or two, gay, which I am neither. It is up to other women to do something about it. It is up to young female mothers to do something about it, not me. The problem cannot be solved by single men. It must be solved from within women, from healing, from values, from morals. I said also, what you just did there, that open-ended statement, leaving on a note like that, is called buttering the bread. In legal terms, for example, if I were to have a case in court, if I had a closing statement, I would state something that would usually be objected to by the judge, but since it is my closing statement, nobody can object. Please refrain from using these propagandist tools of deception. This is not how you carry on a conversation. This is how you stall one, much like the great divide we have today between men and women. I want to make a video because women often use these tactics. I don't know if they've all taken a course on rhetoric, which I assume they haven't because it seems inherent in their nature. That they leave on open-ending statements, they leave on buttering the bread. It's not okay to do that. You guys often use your emotions, and that is an emotional statement. What she said, well, it's because of men, it's because of how people treat them, blah, blah, blah. No, it's not because of how people treated them. It's because their parents did not teach them morals. They did not teach them how to become thinking, critical adults. And when they reach 20 years old, they go through life all through their 30s, using and abusing men, emotionally abusing them, and then when they're 30 years old, they now want to find a man that they said they wanted when they were 20, and now they legitimately want to find one so they can procreate. This is not acceptable. It's not acceptable. And our men and women of today need to teach our children that this is not acceptable behavior. We need to change this, because if we don't, we're going to end up much like the book of The Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. That is not a solution, women saying, oh, just find older women. That is definitely not a solution. What, am I supposed to find a 33-year-old who went her whole 20s whoring around, and now I'm supposed to settle for something less? That is not a solution, guys. Period. End of story. Stop passing the buck. And men, don't go to older women. Go your own way, I guess. Don't go to older women. Don't encourage this behavior. There's going to be an entire generation of women. If we do this, it'll be an entire generation of women who will feel self-loathing and will tell other people's children how they went through their entire 20s self-serving, and now they got in their 30s, couldn't find a man because we were much wiser. Our younger men were wiser to not take those older women because we want them to have a lesson so that they could teach their children or people growing up or 20-year-olds. They could say, listen, don't whore around in your 20s because you're not going to find a man in your 30s. Promise you. And women that do find a man in their 30s are very lucky, and you should probably keep them if that's the case. That's all I wanted to say. I'm not MGTOW. This isn't Sunrise Hoodie. This isn't hoodies up, hoodies out. I'm not fucking doing that. This is simply a video saying, learn, women, learn, men. This is not how you continue a productive society. This isn't how you do it. You shouldn't listen to these women who say, just find older women. That is not the solution. That is not a solution. That's passing the buck, much like what we did. I think I even have more. I think I even continued to say, because that was just a subreddit, because before she did that, because she posted something on, and I said, we have a problem with young women today because their parents aren't teaching them simple morals and values that the Western society held dear, and that's how our men of yesterday thrived to build our great nation. If our women of future generations do not keep these values and teach them to their children, our society will surely fail, and there is no coming back from that, at least not in one generation or even several. This is the point, guys. Like we are going to destroy our society because our women of today think it's okay to whore around in their 20s. Then older women of them say, well, you'll find one in your 30s because I did, because we all told younger women or we all told young men to look for older women. So therefore you can whore around, you can do what you want, you can be self-serving all the way up until you're almost unattractive to young women, and your eggs are drying up, and now in your 30s it's acceptable. Now you're gonna find a man. That's not a fucking solution. And because I'm a young fucking man, I don't want to find an older goddamn woman because she's more mentally matured, because she was told in her younger ages that she'll find a man when she's 30, because we keep telling them that. Because we keep telling them, just find an older woman, just find. Why is it acceptable for fucking young adult women to be immoral, to whore around, to be emotionally abusive to men, and then those men have to now find older women because those women are more mature, when those women that they dated in their 20s should have been as mature as those men? And yet I find it fucking hilarious that women say, well, women are just more mature when they're younger. No, they're fucking not. No, they're fucking not. I can't find one. Please find me one. If that's the case, fucking find me one. A majority. That's not a fucking majority of people. Stop saying, oh, women are much more mature in their younger ages than men are. No, they're not. Promise you, they aren't. Because I'm a man, I'm mentally mature, I'm 22 years of age, and I can't find a 20-year-old woman to procreate with and marry and settle down and give the world to, because, well, quite frankly, they'll act like that, and then they'll take everything you fucking have and leave you for nothing, because it's supported by the state. It's fucking ridiculous, guys. It's terrible. It's terrible. This is how you get to the path of Aldous Huxley, The Brave New World. This is the path you go down. If you want to see a world like what Aldous Huxley depicts in his book, The Brave New World, and then he explains in The Brave New World Revisited that was a book telling people the future, saying this is what our future is building towards, this is what we're building a future for, which is called eugenics, which isn't a plan that I ever want to fucking continue. That's ridiculous. Yeah. Women, you good luck. Because we're gonna replace you with artificial wombs. That's dumb and ignorant and retarded to do, but that's what we're gonna do if you guys continue this fucking behavior of slutting around till you're 30 fucking 5. God damn, dude. MGTOW, Unbearables, whatever the fuck whatever community you're part of, I don't give a fuck. Just stop this nonsense behavior and stop encouraging it by saying get an older woman. That is encouraging men and women alike. Men to get an older woman, that's encouraging women of younger age. It's acceptable for them to slut around. It's acceptable for them to be sluts and not settle down. That's not acceptable, not in my eyes. And you won't get a good man like myself. You won't get a good man like myself or my friend Tyler or other friends that I have who can't find a good woman. You're not going to find a good man like you say you want, even though we know that's not what you want. We know that you want an asshole or you want an alpha male, but at the same time you want somebody who takes care of you and who loves you and who coerces you and does stuff for you nicely, but then 3 weeks out of the fucking month you want him to be an asshole, and then on the 4th week you want him to be nice. No. I'm going to be an asshole if I'm going to be an asshole. I'm going to be nice when I want to fucking be nice. That's an alpha male. That's alpha male mentality, but at the same time you're not going to find those alpha males because all of you women are encouraging younger women to be sluts, to be self-serving. You're not going to find a good man. Not me. I won't fucking encourage that behavior, and I will not teach my children that behavior. That's ridiculous for you to say that. That's it. That's all I have to say.